Today we have a beautiful interview with my good friend Nicko from the band Iron Maiden. Now, Nicko is a rock star. Say rock star.
Rockstar.
Yeah, like he is like a rock star. And not only is he a rock star, he sold God knows how many millions of records. And Rolling Stone magazine has said that Nicko and his band is ranked number four all time out of all bands. So this guy's accomplished a lot. He is humble, he is tumble, he is strong, he is lean, he is mean. He always dresses clean, he's always on the scene, and he doesn't drink promethazine because that's
No.
what the kids drink.
Oh my God.
Did I rhyme
Stop.
there? Did I rhyme there? Or was I?
Yeah, you were rhyming. I was just thinking of Kanye West there with that little box he's got. You know?
You've always been so gracious. Ever since I've known you've always been so gracious.
Thanks, mate.
Always been. And I got to tell you, we're sitting here in North Broward County at Rock and Roll Ribs. And let me tell you, these ribs are rocking. If you think Nicko is a great drummer and he's like one of the greatest, you need to try his ribs. What made you get into ribs, man? Of all businesses.
I'll make a long story even longer. So, touring, I've been blessed to be able to make a career of this since I was 21.
Wow.
It's about 15 years now. And that went by, didn't it? So over the years of touring around the world, I've always loved baby back ribs.
Okay.
And I've been around to so many different restaurants around the world and eaten ribs, and it's one of my favourite foods, basically.
Wow.
Anyway, so about 15 years ago, there was a bunch of us used to get together to play golf on the weekends, and we were called the Corona Gang. For obvious reasons. I'm not drinking anymore. I just don't find. Anyway, so one of the friends of mine was a chef, and this guy called Rick. And Rick, one afternoon, he said, "I know." He said, "I'm going to make some baby back ribs and some sauce, and we'll have the Corona Gang back after golf at my house." And he would cook these ribs. And as the gang grew, there was only like 3 or 4 of us at the beginning. It was like 9 of us at the end of the day.
Wow.
We had to. I asked him. I said, "How do you cook your ribs? And how do you make the sauce?" And he said, "I'm telling you, that's my secret." And chefs are terrible, aren't they? It's like a guitar player. You ask him, "How do you get the tone on that guitar?" You can bugger off. I'm not telling you. Long story short, he taught me how to do these ribs. They're braised ribs. It's not. There is a little secret to the way we braise them, what we put in there. And then he taught me how to make the sauce.
Wow.
Well, this went on for a few weeks, and then one weekend I made the sauce. And another friend of mine turned around after eating, and we were drinking and eating the ribs and whatnot. He said to the gang, "Who thinks Nick's sauce is better than Rick's sauce?" The whole lot put their hands up, and I thought, "Oh, you're all biased because you don't want to upset me. You're in my house, you know." And the general consensus was I made a better sauce, and I made the ribs the same, so that was a given. And so with that, then this very same friend turns around and says, "Oh, you two guys ought to open a restaurant, like a rock and roll rib restaurant," because this friend of mine also was a guitar player.
Wow.
So the seed was set around 2004, 2005. For 4 or 5 years, we lived this dream of how we would present this restaurant.
Wow.
And it took about that 4 years, good 4 years, to get it sorted out.
Wow.
Then in 2009, Rick found this place in the summer of 2009.
Yeah.
Where we are. We've been here 10 years. We're celebrating our 10th anniversary.
Wow,
next
that's
month.
Awesome. That's awesome.
So we opened December the 2nd on 2009. So, that's it. Unfortunately, he came in as a partner. He did the recipes. He put the menu together. He set the restaurant up. My other dearest friend, Mitch Tan, he's still with me as my partner. The two of us run the restaurant now. Own the restaurant.
Great.
Rick, unfortunately, fell along the way.
Wow.
Things didn't work out after a year, and he he lasted 51 weeks. In fact, we opened December the 9th. We got rid of him on December the 2nd. That's why I had that segment in mind.
Okay.
So basically, it came through a love of baby back ribs.
Okay.
The fact that I've eaten them in some exquisite restaurants around the world. So I've always had this, concentrated on the service and the ambience of the restaurant. We need a little touch up in here. She's getting a bit tired after 10 years, but if you notice in the restaurant, it's all my accolades that I've made and awards from my.
You won a lot of accolades.
Well, we've been fortunate enough to make a lot of records. We sold over 1 million albums.
Wow!
So
wow!
And there's 16 studio albums.
Wow!
And one possibly to come.
And I also heard that you guys were ranked on Rolling Stone as number 4 as all-time, rock and roll bands.
Really?
I looked it up. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So you mentioned that you don't drink. You don't drink at all anymore?
No. I
Why?
stopped,
Why?
Okay. I wasn't a spirit drinker as such, but I was a heavy beer and wine guy.
Okay.
And, I loved my clarets and Burgundy wines. That was my favourite. And Corona and Trooper Ale. Trooper being the Iron Maiden beer. But, what was happening was I would go out and play golf with my chap, hence the Corona gang. And by the turn, first 9, I'd done a 6-pack of Corona.
Wow.
Right? And, there's me like an idiot thinking it wasn't a very strong beer, but believe me, it's like 4 or 5% alcohol in it. It's a strong ale. Or lager. And one afternoon, I got out of bed the next day after a day on the golf course, and my car was parked all skew whiff in the garage, right?
Okay.
And I thought, what happened there? Who parked? Now, bearing in mind, I was drinking on the golf course and driving home.
Wow.
Which is really not a good thing to do at all. Don't, boys and girls, do not.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Even if you've had one beer, don't drive. It's not worth the what could be a real problem.
Wow.
Anyway, I thought to myself, it's time to, I've got this big tour coming up. We had the Book of Souls tour coming up in 2016, 2017. And the year prior, my singer had got throat cancer.
Wow.
So he's in treatment through 2015. We found he had I think about 2 months of chemo and radio therapy, treatment, and he got the all clear that he was in remission from May that year.
Wow.
So 2 weeks after I'd heard that Bruce had got the all clear, that the treatment had worked for him, I went out to a golf tournament in Tampa, and I don't remember. There was a 4-day adventure that I went on over there, and I'm flying back with Mitch, my partner from the restaurant, and we're on the plane, and I said, "What happened last night? What did we do?"
Wow.
Don't you remember getting up jamming with the band at the Hard Rock Cafe in Tampa? And I went, "Did I? Yeah, it was a big night." I don't remember, and I was feeling really bad, and then I had this kind of what do they call that moment when the light bulb goes off? If you like, it's this sort of epiphany. Epiphany?
Yeah, epiphany. Yeah.
Hold on a minute. So, basically, I sat there and I thought to myself, "Oh my goodness, there's my singer, my brother, the guy I've worked with 33 years, 32 years, and he's just had a life-threatening illness.
Yes.
And here's me killing myself."
Wow.
So a lot of the decision was based around the fact that I was thinking about my friend.
Wow.
And then I thought, hang on, I've got this big world tour I'm going on over 2 years.
Yeah.
If I carry on like this, the good Lord's going to call me up. And it was like, I think it was like the Lord sort of went, "Nick, have a word with yourself." It was my decision, but I tell you what, the governor is really amazing.
Wow.
And so I took his advice, giving me a little tap on the shoulder, and I haven't had a drink since May the 25th, 2015.
Oh my goodness. Nicko, I find that so fascinating because so many people, they battle addiction, they battle substance abuse. How were you able to just, like, at a drop of a dime, just like stop right there?
I'm
Because
one
a
those-
lot of people can't do that. I hope you know that. I hope you know that.
I,
You know.
I agree. The good Lord's blessed me with that particular gene, I suppose.
Wow.
Because I've never look. I've been playing rock and roll all my life, well, all my adult life, and I've pretty much experienced everything you could possibly think of at one time in my life.
Wow.
And I stopped smoking dope when I was 1985, 86.
And how did that stop?
Well, I was smoking cigarettes then.
Okay.
So I decided I've got to stop smoking cigarettes because every year I get bronchitis since I was born in 1952. Now, I don't know if you know your history, boys and girls. There was some serious smog in 1952 back in England, which was pretty bad for everyone's health. And I actually I get bronchitis every year.
Wow.
Anyway, that beside the point. So I stopped smoking, and I used to smoke hashish.
I remember hashish.
So,
yeah.
I smoke it with tobacco. I was never a marijuana fan. Didn't like it.
Okay.
So that's not that on the head. Then all the powder substances, not that on the head. The last time I indulged was 12 years ago.
Wow.
So the reason I'm saying this is because of the addictive personality you may have.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily translate to having an addiction to something.
Yeah.
And having a struggle. And a life struggle with that.
Yeah.
To get yourself off a bit. Now, I was very fortunate to, if you like, cold turkey on everything.
Wow.
I was very fortunate.
You have probably a special gene because I know.
Well, this is it. I mean, God's blessed me in that respect.
Yeah.
And I'm a pain in the butt.
Wow.
Which I can't get rid of.
Did you have this? Did you have you said an epiphany? Did you have this encounter with God, like St. Paul had this road to Damascus?
Not quite. It wasn't like I had, you visited me and go, here, why are you persecuting and killing Christians?
Yeah.
It was like, why are you killing yourself, Nick?
Yeah.
And
wow.
it was just this feeling.
Wow.
Of determining. It was like he didn't see us go, Nick, you've got to stop drinking. It was I was guided. I felt a presence that told me, you've got to stop this, Nick, or else you've got this tour coming up. Your brother's nearly, could have lost his life, and there's you killing yourself. And that was it. It wasn't sort of like I saw a white light.
Wow.
I just had a feeling in my soul that I really do believe God was speaking to me on that plane.
And what would you?
And of course, then the next thing, my mate gets a Bloody Mary delivered, and I'm like, oh, you're having a laugh.
Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary.
Holy Mother of God, right?
So I was very, very blessed in that respect. Now, I see people, and as we all have, we know how bad,
the opioids,
pandemic everywhere, more so than anywhere else in America, more so than Florida. None more so, should I say, than Florida. Florida is really pandemic with opioids and stuff, and children and adults and people at my age.
It's just too easy to get. That's what it is.
Yeah, and I must admit, a very dear friend of mine, Dave Arenberg, who was state senator a number of years ago, actually passed a bill that he got through legislated through for controlling. He got rid of all these pain doctors. There was a massive purge, must be 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
And hats off to him for doing that. Now, obviously, it's all very well doing that, but there's always a black market.
That's true.
If you want something, you've got a bit of money in your pocket, you can find it.
That's true.
So, it's these drug pharmaceutical companies really have to be held accountable in terms of not, I think, and I'm not getting on my soapbox here, but as we're talking about something that's very close to us, and it's touched all of us in this room,
definitely.
some way or another, is that to make them accountable for the amount of that they make and where they send it. There's people that generally have accidents, they go to hospital, come out of surgeries, and they're in pain, and that's what these drugs were built for. And made for. And of course, you can't deny someone. Although that does happen, some people then get a bit abusive with it and go, I've run out, my dog ate them, or they fell down the toilet, I need another script. So you have to try and make I think more of an effort to understand where they all go.
What would you say to someone that is battling substance abuse? What would you say to them? Say, hey, this is something that you can try, and they've tried everything. They tried everything, and
the thing is, well, from my personal experience with what I've had to deal with within my family circle is that most of the that I figure maybe I'm wrong, and I don't have a degree to be able to have this substantiated as advice, but from my personal feeling is you've got to want to get well. You don't. If somebody's trying to force you into, like let's say family interventions and stuff, sometimes it gets to the stage where that has to happen. But 9 times out of 10, 90% of the addiction is in the mind. Yeah, you've got to. Well, surveys say that. Now, I believe a lot of it is, because if you want to get well, you will. Like I had to. I had to say to myself, I'm going to stop, and I was fortunate enough to be able to do that. As I said, is there a special gene there? Possibly. Yeah. But but I've got to.
If we could just bottle it, if we could just bottle it and just maybe put it in a bottle or a capsule.
Yeah. It's like adrenaline. Yeah. People get adrenaline. They say, where'd you get that energy from? It's adrenaline. That's if you could bottle that, and give that as a, here's a pick me up. Take that, because then you won't be addicted to it.
Every time I see you, one of the things I love about you is no matter where you are, you just bring incredible amount of joy to people. People light up like Christmas trees when they see you. Has that always happened your whole life?
No. Well, I've always been that kind of effervescent, sort of bubbly guy. Even when I was doing drugs, I was a bit more crazy, a bit more insane. Now I'm just insane. But, I have this joy of, I was given this talent for a reason, and I've worked that talent to where I am now, and I've always tried to help people along the way, and I've always liked to be. My personality's been that kind of. As soon as you put the camera on me, I'm off. Put a radio mic in front of me, off. But sometimes I get a bad day, and we all do.
Yeah, we're entitled to that.
Sometimes I wake up and it's happened that my wife's like, "Whoa, what's the matter with you? You're miserable." And I go, "Can't I have a day where I'm not happy?" I
know. Can I have a human day, right?
So there are things in life that always are obstacles to us, and I think it depends. Like as we were saying, advice for kids that are wanting to try and get off of drugs. Yeah, get help. Praise God. Ask God's help. He will help you. But always seek out those people that are there to help you, because they're there for one reason, that is to help you. And so then, the good side of life is when you're effervescent or have that personality, which you said so kind to say I have, is that you try and, when you meet people like that are struggling, you can help them over a little bump. Because life is considered, to me, is a whole bunch of little bumps that end up being a big one.
That's true.
And all these walks, there's things that are going to trip you up. And sometimes we don't look to the cross and we don't look to Jesus in our faith, and we turn away. So that's times when we find ourselves going down a dark alley.
That's true. That's so true.
And, once somebody's already down there, it's your job. It's all of our jobs as Christian men and women to bring those kids back out. I say kids, I mean everybody.
I had a conversation once with a scholar. He's like a theological scholar, and he was telling me the story of the Good Samaritan, one of the most famous stories that's told in the New Testament. And he said what made that story fascinating is that a Pharisee came by and just left the guy there. It's and then another guy that was like a politician came by and left the guy there. Right. But then the Good Samaritan, who at that time was a minority, was a ethnic minority, was a group of people that people looked down upon. And then the path where this guy got robbed at, it was like a tiny little street. And most people got robbed there. And when they robbed you, they killed you. They cut your neck off. All right. Gosh, yeah. So, but he says, the scholar says this. He said this guy had to have had that happen to him before, and someone beat him almost like to dear life, and he prayed his last breath. He said, "God, if you ever get me out of this alive, I promise, that if I ever walk by here and I see a guy that's been robbed here." I promise I'll help them. Yeah. And I feel like that's our story, right? Our story is we've when we've encountered adversity in life, when we've encountered bad things. I've encountered so much adversity. I've had, all you name it, I've had it happen to me. But I never forget I was on death row. Not on death row, but I was in death row giving a speech. You're probably Nico. Nico's like, Nico's like, where's the exit? They let this guy out of death row. No, I was giving a speech, right?
Right, yeah.
So I come in my nice tailored suit, and these guys are facing life. They're never gonna see the sunlight ever. So I come in and I said, how the heck I'm gonna relate to these guys?
Right.
I have to find out something. So the first thing I said, these guys have guys come in and speak all the time. So the first thing I said was, guys, I've never killed anyone. I've never committed a capital crime. Said I can't relate to you in that way. Then I began to give them a litany of every bad thing I've done. I said, I just never got caught. I said, so here's the deal. Let's set some moral equivalency here.
Excuse me.
I'm not better than any of you. I'm not coming on here some high horse, some high horse, some moral high horse that I'm superior to. I said, I'm probably below every one of you. And I just gave my little speech. At the end, we just all like hugged each other, cried, because they had to know at that point that there's that humanity. And I feel like when you have that humanity, everything is possible.
Of course, that's the thing is don't live above your laurel. The thing is for me, if I can just help one person through a bad time, or give them a word of not so clever advice, or a particular piece of advice that's something that's happened to me, that I can pass on and say, look, this is how this happened to me, like you did explain to those guys. By modern standards, a good Samaritan is pay it forward. Right. Now anyone can do that, regardless of whether you have a faith, or whether you believe in Jesus, whatever your God may or may not be. You can still pay forward and still do good.
That's
now,
true.
Whether you're not going to get into heaven by that, but certainly it does. It will count for the day that you do say to God, I believe in your Son, mate. Right. But the thing is that we learn from experiences in our lives, and we learn to take experiences from other people too.
That's true.
To be a good listener is very important.
That's very important.
And not to just go off and blaze off and go, well, let me tell you about what happened to me. You've got to be able to, encourage people by listening to them.
Yes.
Let them tell you your story.
And Mother Teresa had a great saying. She says, all of us, we're just pencils in the hands of God. So every day I wake up out of bed, I say, God, if anything today, I don't care if it's the worst day, it's a crappy day, I said, God, just pick up the pencil, write whatever you want to write. Because obviously I'm trying to write my own story, and it's not working.
We all try and do that.
I'm like,
I know what's best for me, God, don't you know that?
Kevin Hart used this thing, he says, Jesus, take the wheel, I'm like, God, take the wheel. So you started playing, you were like 11, 12?
Yeah, I saw Joe Marella playing on telly. He did back in the old days, boys and girls, black and white telly, right?
Wow.
Colour, you did get colour TV in the 50s back home, but it was expensive, and mum and dad, working class family. Mum worked at a golf course and in a sweet shop, and my dad worked for London Transport.
Okay.
And he worked at London Transport's ticket machine works, anyway, there's a story there, I can tell that later, but my dad it was a Monday night, I believe, because he always used to do the ironing.
Okay.
My dad loved ironing.
Wow.
My mum would go, no, I'll do it. No, so I'm going to do the ironing Monday night. And Monday night was bath night in the house. Anyway, the telly's on, little telly, Dad's ironing, and then Dave Brubeck, quartet coming, take 5. Right, and then you go, off he goes. This drummer's gone crazy, and he's got dark sunglasses on. Right? And I've looked at them, I've gone and sat down in front of the telly, and I'm like, yeah, Dad, who's that? Yeah, that's Joe Morello, son. I went, oh, okay. And he started, he's whistling the Joe Marella did this, and it's all live. There was no pre-recorded, the only thing that was pre-recorded was a movie. You get a movie on a weekend. So anyway, there he is. He's jamming away, and I'm hooked. And I said, "What's his name, Dad?" He said, "Joe Marella, son." I said, "I want to be that dark sunglass guy." And he says, "You'll never be as good as Joe Marella, son." Right? I'll never forget those. They were like those words cut like a knife. And bearing in mind, I went in the kitchen, picked up a couple of my mum's knives, and beat the 9 living daylights out of the cooker.
Wow.
And then we had a flatly, which was where you put clothes on, and it was like a dryer.
Yes,
but
yes.
It didn't tumble. It was just and then there was a copper to boil the water for the clothes and boil the water for the bath. So I'm beating the heck out of this. And in the old days, I keep saying the old days because it was in the 60s, right? So they made these cookers with enamel. So every time I hit this thing, chips of enamel were coming off. My mum came in the kitchen. It's because I'm making this racket. And there wasn't any coordination at all. But I thought I was the dark sunglass guy doing the solo. My mum comes out, Harry, get in here. My dad comes in, claps me around the back of the lug. I go, what do you think you're doing? I said, I'm Joe Marella, I'm the dark sunglass guy. So he takes a knife. Anyway, from there I was like 10 and a half years old. It was 1962, middle of 62. And I made a drum set up of pots and pans and tins and, tobacco tins, gravy. There was a gravy company called Oxo Gravy, and the Oxo cubes, big red tin I had. And I had the best drum set in the world after a year. Wow. And I actually went on the road with it.
Wow.
I took it from my bedroom down to the lounge.
Wow.
In the front room in the house. Anyway, so I played on pots and pans for a year with my mum's knitting needles.
Okay.
And then, of course, I'd get into trouble for that. Because I'd all of a sudden, Michael, where's my 5-piece? My mum would shout up the stairs, oh, because I've got knitting needles. And my mum used to do a lot of knitting and stuff. But so that was it. That's how it started.
Wow. And you've been obsessed ever since.
Absolutely. And my father and mother, my mum and dad bought me a John Gray Broadway 3-piece drum set the next year. So I had just over a year of playing pots and pans.
I'm sure that wasn't cheap, but
no, it wasn't an expensive drum set. It was like a starter kit, but they didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah, wow.
So they
really invested in you.
They did, and my dad. I remember when I got it at Christmas that year. He turned around, I'm opening this kit, and I'm like, oh my! I can't. God had said, here you go, mate. What are we going to do with that then? My man was, that's a 5-minute wonder if ever I've seen it. And I just looked at my dad and I said, no, mate. I said, no, Dad, that's that. And I was like over the moon.
Wow.
That they bought me this. And I built that little drum set up for a few years. And I was collecting cymbals. I've always been a cymbal freak.
Wow.
I love the top part of the kit. Those instruments are just stunning. Anyway, I built the drum set up and then went from there.
Wow.
I did my first gig when I was I had that drum set for about 3 months before I did a gig.
Wow.
And I did.
And you paid your way. You started earning money, I hear, and then you started.
I started earning SemiPro money when I was about 14 years old.
SemiPro. Wow.
Yeah. When I say SemiPro, I was still at school. So
okay.
SemiPro is when you actually have a job and you go out and play.
Yeah.
So I was still at school, and I had this band I played with for a few years, and we did a bunch of local gigs, and we expanded out just outside London. After a couple of years, I was a bit fed up because I then discovered through my friend, who had a girlfriend that introduced him to like Muddy Waters, Sonny Boy Williams, bands like that, right? And the real true blues, and I fell in love with it.
Wow.
So I wanted to go away from the pop soul stuff, although I loved all that, the Bobby Blue Bland stuff, and I was actually a soul funk player. I used to love funk music.
Oh my goodness.
But anyway, so I kind of moved away into blues and went and got a blues band, and music was then becoming amplified. In the early 60s, you didn't mic up the whole band. You'd have a singer's microphone, and that was it. And then the guitar amplifiers started to get a bit louder, and then there's only so much dynamic you can do. You can try and hit the kit as hard as you like, and it'll only get so loud.
Yeah.
Even John Bonham could only get so much level.
When did you know that you were that guy? Like when you knew, like
sunglass guy.
When did you know that? Like when did you know that? Because I share a story. I used to get bullied when I was a kid.
Right.
and there was these group of kids. They were like the cool kids, right? And they would like kind of like push me, and And one day I got up enough courage, and this guy was like, wait, as you can see, I'm vertically challenged. I'm not a big guy. So this guy just came, and he just kind of like, he was like a linebacker. He just kind of hit me, and I just punched him in like the chest area. And he was like, kind of like, they didn't, but there was one day he got me so pissed. Like my mother made me a chocolate chip cookie, and it was my favorite chocolate chip cookie. And he took it from me.
Ooh.
And I was like, I went crazy. So I gave it to him on that one. I gave it to him. When I knocked him out and I looked at all of his little posse, and they were just like, I ain't messing with him. He looks like he's got fire in his eye. That's when I knew I was that dude. I knew from that point on, there was no more bullying going to happen on my watch. When did you know that I'm Nicko?
Oh my gosh, that's a great
that I can make a
question.
living. I can make a living off of this. This is. There's not too many drummers that is as good as I am.
Well, I don't think I ever had a defining moment like that, because I still don't really regard myself as one of the. I mean, I'm one of the great rock players, and because I play in one of the,
Nicko,
if not the best. Rock
I know
band
you're
in the
very
world.
humble, you're very modest, but you're one of the greatest.
Well,
you're one of the greatest of all
Thank
time.
you. But,
You are one of the greatest.
The thing is, the defining moment. There were a few really. I mean, it's hard to sort of pin it down, but Ringo Starr was my first pinner. I had a big poster of him on my wall, and Please Please Me was just, She Loves You. Yeah, I mean, just that sound that he had and the way he played was my first hero. And I thought, I'm going to be Ringo. I wanted to be the Beatles drummer. I thought, I'm going to be better than him. And then Charlie Watts came out, and I thought, well, okay, I prefer Ringo's playing to Charlie, although Charlie was, and still is a phenomenal player. Big jazz background. Maybe that might have had something to do with that feeling. And what I think really possibly defined me was my generation and Keith Moon. When I first saw Keith Moon playing.
Wow.
And it was live.
And what about that was so iconic for
he
you?
was, I was so used to playing kind of straight poppy songs and little soul-y bits and bobs and whatnot. But when Mooney came out, he broke that mould. It's like, say, when Louis Bellson did Skin Deep with two bass drums. He broke the mould from going from a single bass drum set, which was the norm in the 30s.
Okay.
With people like Buddy Rich and Gene Krupa and these kind of guys. And Louis Bellson comes along, double bass drums. He does his whole, broke the mould and took it to another level. And then people started to get into this double bass drum stuff. Me, I went old school. I mean, it's good enough for Buddy, it's good enough for me.
Wow.
So it was when I saw Keith playing my generation. It was just the drum fills he would play across time, and he didn't sit straight, and he was like a wild guy behind a kit.
Wow.
And I thought, that's me. That's how I like to play. This crazy, because I saw this guy doing what I had in my mind as a player. Because I used to like to play hard, and as I was going through with the band called Paint and Bond that I worked with a few years, they were always telling me to turn my drum, put tape on the drums or a duster or a piece of newspaper. I said, well, you've got the amplifiers, turn them up. And I was always a dynamic player.
Yeah.
So I think really that was clear. And of course then, my goodness, Led Zeppelin 1 come out, and the great, unbelievable John Bonham. Now, what John Bonham was to me was the mixture of what I had when I was playing pop, when I was playing straight.
Okay.
And I say pop, the top, the chart music at the time and whatnot. So, having said that, I kind of put the two of those together, and I knew from that time when I first saw Keith and then I saw John, that's what I was going to do.
Wow.
I had the passion was always there, and I'm.
And before you became a professional rock star that you are, what did you do before that? So you've always been
right
in music?
Yeah. So when I was going to stay on at school do GCSEs, which was a general certificate of education. It's not like a degree, it's kind of. So it proves that you finished you go through 5 or 6 years of school, then you can go into college or university. So I decided to stay on. I got to the end of the 4th year, and my passion and my drive by then was infuriating.
Wow.
Because I said, look, I'm not going on the last year. I'm not going to take my GCSEs. I'm opting out. So I did 4 years of school, and then she said, well, you need to get a trade.
Okay.
Mum was very, very adamant. Dad was like, oh, do anything to keep your mum happy, son. Just do it for me. Now, I never understood what my dad meant. Just do it for me. Because my dad was so encouraging me. He saw the talent I had.
Wow.
Right? He knew that, he actually ended up managing a band when I was 15. And when I left school, he was managing this band I went in.
Wow.
Anyway, when he said to me, anything for a quiet life, son, do this for me, will you? Keep your mum happy. And I went, okay, so what am I going to do? So I went, I had a string of jobs, engineering jobs.
So you did engineering?
Yeah. I worked in, first of all, I wanted to be a carpenter.
Okay, like Jesus.
So I did a week working for a company called Stocks Contractors, which were a building company, and I was supposed to be in as a chippy, as a carpenter. I ended up having me filling in foundation trenches with cement, and I'm like, this isn't God, you got to work your way up there going. I said, no, 2 days I lasted.
Wow.
So then I went and got a job with a bottle making factory, making glass bottles and jars.
Okay.
For the Standard Bottle Company. I worked there for a good couple of years, and they, the charge hand said to me, we're going to send you on a day release program to college, 1 day a week, 2 nights. For 4 years, and you get what's called a City and Guilds, which is like a degree.
Okay.
But it takes 4 years.
Wow,
Right?
wow.
I was like, oh, you're having a laugh, man. All right, and I promised my mum and I promised dad,
okay,
I'm going to go and get a trade. So from 16 to 20, I didn't start until late 67, somewhere around there. Anyway, I went through the 4 years, and I was working at a company called Zales. So we're moving down 4 years, right? And I had these I worked in die cast metal company. I worked for this company called Zales. They used to make molds. I used to make molds.
Did you feel fulfilled doing all these jobs?
No, absolutely not. I mean,
was it like miserable? Was it like miserable?
Well, I enjoyed it because I enjoyed engineering, working with my hands and working with. I mean, I've got scars on my hands to prove. That I've got 2 scars on my fingers that came from the bottle company. I've got a scar up my arm here, where I dropped a mold.
But you never really felt like this was you.
No. So I'm only doing this for mum.
Yeah.
Right. So then I ended up working for a company called Zales, which were Zales, and they made all kinds of pressure instruments. And I was working on cup generator anemometers, which measure wind speed and barometric pressures and stuff. Pardon me, and a lot of mercury involved, which was seriously dangerous stuff to work with. Anyway, I remember this particular day. I'm sitting working. It was a Friday afternoon. It was around end of June, and I just turned 21. And I went right, and I'm down the tools, and I thought, you know what? I've taken my final exam. I haven't had the results yet, but I'm done. I've done my 4 years, right? And I'd made my mind up. That was me pro. And I was working with 2 songwriters, and they were paying me £50 a week, which was a lot of money to be. And I had the use of the band van.
Yeah.
Really cool. I was the only one who had a driving license out of bands. They all lost theirs. So anyway, long story even longer. I down tools. I went and gave my notice in. Took my paycheck for that Friday. And they did owe me holiday pay later on. And I went home. Mum was home. And that afternoon, it was about 2:30 when I got through the door. And as I walked in, she said, "What are you doing home?" And I went, "Oh, that's what I need to talk to you about, Mum." I was about to tell her. She said, "Oh, by the way," so she hands me an envelope. "This came to you," right? And it said, "City and Guilds, London." I thought, "Oh, okay, Mum." She said, "Well, aren't you going to open it?" I said, "All right." So I opened up, passed with distinction. "Here you go, Mum." And I gave it to her, and I presented it to my mum. And she said, "What am I going to do? What's this?" I said, "That's what you asked me to do. I passed with distinction, 4 years of training. I now can go out as a skilled mechanical engineer, not a motor car. It's like the equivalent is a tool maker. You know, the mechanical engineer over here is a bloke who works on car engines. Mechanical engineering in England is building things from a piece of metal. You with me?
Yep.
So anyway, what are you doing home? I said, no, I'm now a professional musician. So that day I went pro. It was the day I got my City and Guilds result.
Wow.
So I was miserable. But the thing here was, the weird thing was that because I was playing in, doing quite a lot of shows with the band I was working with was a band called Axe, spelled AX.
Okay.
And that came out of a band that I then joined after I left the Paint and Bomb guys, which were called the Wells Street Blues Band. And they came from Hackney, Wells Street in Hackney. This was one guy formed the band, lived in Wells Street. And so we played under that moniker for a few years. And then we changed the name to the AX, because we thought it was a bit more, because we were playing more progressive rock and progressive blues music. So, yeah, you know, I was miserable, but I lost the third year exam. I failed it. I actually didn't pass my third year exam. Now,
was that on purpose?
No, I just didn't. I didn't make the cut. And Dr. Simmons, who was the form, you know, the guy who was my form teacher, and at the college, he said, I know why you didn't pass, because you missed a lot of your night classes because I was out doing gigs. He said, I'm going to let you through to the fourth year.
Wow.
And you're going to have to take the third year exam at the end of the fourth year with the fourth year exam.
Wow.
And I thought, hello, that's a result. And then I thought about it a minute and I said, here, what'll happen if I pass the fourth year and fail the third again? And he just looked at me and he just looked at me straight and he went, you're not going to fail the third year. And it's just this look of like, well, okay, he's letting me off. So he knew that I had. So that last year was pretty brutal because I had to actually turn down some gigs with the band. You know, I couldn't do it. So I had to go to the night class.
So,
you know.
So I know in '82, when did you actually move to the States?
I moved here in 89.
89.
But I joined Maiden in
82, right?
Yeah.
82.
Yeah.
So how was that like shifting over and transitioning to Maiden?
Well, I was working with various other bands professionally after I went pro when I was 21.
Which other ones?
Oh gosh, there's a lot of them. I was doing sessions for about 2 years. And I don't read music, so the thing was I could listen to a piece of music one time and play it.
Would you consider that to be a photographic memory?
For music, yes. For everything else, but now I couldn't do it because I've been playing with the same band for 37 years.
Yeah.
And, you know, we just.
It's been 30. It's been 37 years.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So I did 2 years of sessions, then I joined a band called Nickel and Marsh, two songwriters. Then I did a little tour with them, and then I finally got my first real touring band. It was a band called Streetwalkers, and they were.
I remember the Streetwalkers.
Yeah, two guys, Charlie Whitney and Roger Chapman. They used to have a band previously called Family, and then they changed their name. They changed the members in the band. So I played 2 years with them. Then I met Pat Travers, and I ended up playing with Pat Travers for 2 years. So I went back into this sort of blues kind of vibe. You know, Pat was a stunning virtuoso guitar player when I met him. So he still is brilliant. In fact, he's coming down to play my party in 2 weeks' time.
Okay.
I don't know when you're going to air this, but
yes,
on December the 14th.
Okay.
Anyway, that's another story. So I did a couple of years. Then I had a band called McKitty I worked with before Maiden. Actually, before. Then I worked with a French band called Trust.
Oh, how was that? How was that?
That was really difficult because I didn't speak French.
And how were you able to like coagulate and coordinate the music?
You know, the music's international. You don't have to speak the language. All you have to do is speak the notes.
Yeah. You know, it's also like that love. I have a friend of mine. He's a gringo. He's a white boy. And his girl is, she's Mexican.
Right.
And she doesn't speak any English.
Right.
And he doesn't speak any Spanish. They've been married for 30 years. They have the greatest relationship.
Absolutely.
Because love.
Yeah, the thing is, when she won't tell you about something, you just go, yeah, babe.
and when they get in arguments, she curses him out in Spanish, but he doesn't understand. So he's like, gee, yes, I guess so.
Can I have some of that?
Yeah.
Can I have some? So anyway, so the okay, so I worked with this McKitty band before before Maiden. Now, in 1979, Maiden did their very first European show in Belgium. And I was on the same bill with this guy McKitty, a guy called Donovan McKitty, brilliant guitar player. He was like if you imagined a right-handed Jimi Hendrix, it was him. And he was a little bit taller than Jimmy. He had an afro. He was he was Jamaican American.
Okay.
Jamaican dad and American mum.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so he had that real light chocolate coloured skin.
Yeah.
Not the light chocolate.
Okay.
You've got the dark chocolate.
Yeah. You know, they say dark chocolate is more healthier for you. You know that, right? That's what the doctors say. The dark chocolate is very good for you.
More healthy than the white stuff.
And listen, I have a theory.
Yes.
This is a theory I believe in, that racism can't exist. I have a theory. It's called chocolate people. Everyone's chocolate.
Absolutely.
You're white chocolate.
Yeah.
My friend here, she's mocha chocolate.
Mocha chocolate, yeah.
I'm dark chocolate.
You're
Some
dark
people
chocolate.
are, you know, a little bit sprinkled with milk chocolate.
You're a 60% cocoa chocolate. Then there's the other fellas. They're the 70.
Now I've seen some people that like they're as dark as like
Absolutely,
night, you know, like you
yeah,
close your eyes.
yeah,
Now,
love it.
but see, the whole concept of it is everyone is chocolate. We're all the same.
Absolutely.
So we can't be, you know, we can't have no
Absolutely,
bigotry.
yeah. You know what?
Everyone's, and who doesn't like chocolate? Have you ever met someone?
I've never
Maybe
met
a
anyone who
Martian
doesn't.
or an alien, something.
Yeah, I've met a few aliens, believe me. And actually, you're right, mate. One of them didn't care for chocolate. So, anyway, I went with this guy, and we had Charlie Tumahai talking about chocolate. He was a Maori from New Zealand.
Okay.
Bass player, fantastic bass player. He used to play in a band called Bebop Deluxe. This fella, and he's actually, funny enough, Steve Harris. He's one of Steve's favourite bass players.
Okay.
With this guy, anyway. So we're on stage. It's their very first ever show out of England, Iron Maiden. So I made friends with them at this show. I knew Dave Murray. We used to drink at the Marquee Club in London prior to me meeting him again in Belgium. Anyway, we were on stage. We were a three-piece, and Donovan's amplifier blew up. And we're halfway through this track, and rather than stop, Charlie and I carried on playing. You know, and we thought, well, you know, we're old school, we're pros. We don't just stop the music and let them fart around. We carried on, and we did an impromptu bass solo and drum solo.
Wow.
And we changed it into a funk groove. This piece of music, I just went off, and it was like, this is the amazing thing about music, is that you can have a jam with people, and God, I'm telling you, God loves music. He really does. I mean, there's lots of clanging of gongs and cymbals and trumpets playing, and somebody comes to know the Lord, right?
Yeah.
There's a massive party going on all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes a little bit, somebody might spit out a little bit of saliva out of a trumpet, and it'll come down and it'll touch you on the shoulder and go like, and you're playing, all of a sudden you do something and you change the time or you change the groove, and everyone changes at the same time.
Wow.
And you get that feeling, you go, wow, how did that happen?
The hairs on the back of your neck stand up. Wow.
So anyway, this was one of those moments where me and him just locked into this groove, and we were looking at one another. It was like, right, you go. So off he went, and I'm sitting, whatever it was I was playing underneath him went nice and quiet, and he's out there shredding this bass solo. Steve Harris is on the side of the stage, as he always is at every one of our shows when the support band's playing. He'll always come stand on the side of the stage and listen. He was there. I did a drum solo, played a solo, then we came back in it, and I think it might have even been Maiden that changed the head out, the Marshall head, and now Donovan's back into it. We stopped and kicked off where we ended up, where he's, you know, halfway through the song. Or I think we may have started it again, but we didn't stop and start. We just you know, he didn't introduce it and say sorry. We just carried on. Well, Harry remembered that. Steve Harris. He said, he's not a big solo. You never you never hear him do a bass solo at an Iron Maiden gig, and you'll never hear a drum solo, because the time that it takes for those two events to happen, you could do a song. You know, that's his philosophy, and I agree with that. When I first joined the band, I did a solo. So moving on, when Clive Burr, the original drummer of the band, you know, he wasn't playing too well, and his heart wasn't in it anymore.
Oh, wow.
And that was in the middle of 1982, sorry. And when it came down to thinking of drummers, I was the first guy that Steve thought I wanted the guy that played in with McKitty. I've never seen a solo. And I playing with one of his favourite bass players.
Wow.
So there was that was my audition.
Wow.
And when they called me up, it went on for a while, and then finally at the end of 1982, I then sat down with the band or with the management, and they said, right, as of next month, we start working on a new record. And I started, my very first downbeat was on January the 9th, 1983.
Wow.
So that's how I got the job. And now that changed my life, because I knew about the band before I heard about them.
Wow.
Because their manager, Rod Smallwood, who's still the manager today, and I were mates from 1975 when I worked with Streetwalkers.
Wow.
My very first American tour. He was tour managing Cockney Rebel.
Okay.
So we got really tight then, and I'd see him in studios. I was doing sessions on and off, still working along on sessions, and I was in a studio in London, and he was in one control room mixing a guy called Beethoven, guitar player. He called himself Beethoven, God knows why. He was nice. I actually did a bit of work with him later, but I was working with Beethoven. He was doing Gloria Mundi.
Okay.
He was in it, and he said, "Oh, Nicky," he's from Huddersfield. "Oh, Nicky, come here. I want to work with you." "Oh, what do you you ever heard of a band called Iron Bloody Maiden?" I went, "Oh yeah, I've seen their ads in the mate, and they're a pretty good band. I've seen pretty heavy, pretty hard rock, heavy metal, right?" "Oh, bloody right," he says. "Excuse me swearing." He says, this is him. Right. "Oh," he said, "I'm managing them." I said, "Oh yeah, well done." I said, you got so many fingers in so many pies. No, they're going to be bloody massive. And I'll never forget that word. And I thought, okay. So when I got the opportunity to hear them, and their first record, Iron Maiden and Killers, I was like, oh gosh, these guys really,
wow.
Some of the songwriting is just off the charts.
Yeah.
So then we had the first, I did have an audition. It was the first day I had to do 5 tracks off these two, off the 3 albums, because they had Number of the Beast out in 1982, which was where they were touring when I first joined the band. So they were actually out on tour until the end of that year. But I actually got the job in 82.
Okay, so everyone was dying to know this question. They said, if you're going to be sitting with Nicko, they want to know, what are 3 things that you've gotten a chance to do because you're a rock star that you probably wouldn't have been able to do had you not been a rock star? 3 things.
Okay. Oh.
And I want you to go all in. I'm talking about, I want to know like, you know.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, the first thing that springs to mind is meeting the Queen.
You met the Queen?
Absolutely. Yeah, man.
Did you touch her?
Yeah. I shook hands with her. I wouldn't let her hand go. And,
How did she smell?
Oh, she's stunning. I mean, she's like 5 foot nothing. I mean, anyway, so
So tell me about that. You got to tell me about
that. Because of my job, I've got to meet the most incredible people like yourself, and people in our industry. And one of my closest mates was Jim Marshall.
Wow.
Up there on that poster, and you can have a little picture of that later, boys and girls. But anyway, we're dear friends now. Jim, I first met in 1978, and then I didn't really get to see him again until probably 86, 87, when I used to start going to a lot of trade shows, the Frankfurt trade show, music trade show, and the NAMM show. Anyway, he was a water rat. And there's an order called the Grand Order of Water Rats in England, and it's a charity that's set up by entertainment people, for entertainment people. And basically, what happened back in the late 1800s, there were 2 fellas that formed this charity for down people that were down on their luck, other artists in the vaudeville side and theatre, and this amazing charity was set up. Now, you have to get vetted. You have to have a sponsor and a seconder who has to be of good standing with the order. It took me about 14 years to be accepted as a water rat.
Wow.
And one of our patrons is the Duke of Edinburgh,
Oh my
Prince
goodness.
Philip.
Wow.
So, and Prince Charles as well. So apparently this is how the story went. About 4 years ago, it was our 125th anniversary. And apparently they had lunch with the two princes. And Prince Philip turned to King Rat, who at that time was a guy called Captain K. And because you have a King Rat, he overruns it for you. He gets voted by the order and whatnot, and then, you know, you get voted in to be king. I can't because I live in America.
Okay.
Anyway, so apparently the story goes that Prince Philip said, "Oh, we've got 125th anniversary party, but have it at my house." Well, you know, his house, Buckingham Palace, right?
Wow.
One of the Queen's residence.
Yeah.
So they set it in motion, and all the rats could take one companion with them. And we had a party at the Buckingham Palace, and myself and my wife went, and Prince Philip came down first and walked the room, and then Rick Wakeman was, I think at that time was King Rat, if I'm not mistaken, and then he did it. He wrote a special piece of music. Anyway, the Queen comes down. We're all standing in a line, and she comes along and meets us, and she came and she puts her hand out to me. She's, you know, my wife. It was besotted because, you know, she's American.
Yeah. She's
standing there, and there's Queen Elizabeth standing in front of us.
Goodness.
So she put. Actually, you're supposed to wait for them, but this was more of an informal event. You know, this was. You know, so I thought, okay, and I went, ma'am, and I took her hand. She put her hand in. She's got a gin and tonic in her hand. Right? She got a GT in her hand, and I took her hand, and I put both my hands. I said, Mum. I said, thank you so very much for allowing this bunch of reprobates and hooligans to have a lovely party in your house. Thank you so much. Oh, she said, you're very welcome. Wow. And then she went to my wife, and my wife turns around and says to her, oh, your skin is, oh my God, I'm thinking, you know, is it watch out tower, here I come. But no, she was besotted, and she was so wonderful. So I would never have got to meet the Queen.
Wow.
Like that had I not had this job. So that's one thing. Second thing, really talking about Jim Marshall, I would never have got to meet him.
Wow.
Because I was a director of a drum company called Staccato Drums, and I went to Jim to pitch the company to him to see if because he's a drummer.
Yes.
Jim Marshall.
Yes.
He doesn't play guitar. He hasn't no clue about guitar. He's a drummer and a singer and a tap dancer. Anyway, I went to Jim in '78 when we first met, and that's how so I would never have got to meet the wonderful Jim Marshall, and he became like my surrogate father.
Wow.
So that's the second thing. And I think really, well, number 3 would be my relationship with Tomas Paiste, Paiste, they make my cymbals.
Okay, yes.
If I had the great honor of actually becoming a part of the family, really part of their family.
Wow.
He was like my second surrogate dad. I lost my dad in '85, so
Wow.
I was.
Bless his soul.
He passed. He was 62 when he passed, my dad. So I had 2 surrogate dads. I had Jim, and Jim was. I went for the worst one for matters of the heart because Jim was married 5 times.
Wow.
So I'd phone him up, Jim, I've got a broken arm, what am I going to do? Anyway, Tomas Paiste, there were 2 brothers. Their father, before them, formed the Paiste Cymbal Company in Estonia.
Okay.
And they used to make drum heads and bass drum pedals and stuff like that. Then they went into manufacturing cymbals. And then the 2 sons, Robert and Tomas, ended up developing back in the 40s, you know, after the war years. They took the fact they actually were, what's the word? They were displaced to Switzerland from Estonia when the war was starting. They managed to get out of Estonia because I don't, you know, when Poland went and Hitler went into Poland in '39, it was like Estonia's right next door.
Yes.
You know, so and then the Russians came in from the east, you know, and it was all like pretty. So they got out. They managed to get displaced into Switzerland, which is where they are now. In fact, I think they might have gone via Hamburg for some reason. Anyway, So the two, we lost Thomas in 2002, but I became very, very close with him in the late 80s.
Okay.
And so those three things are really great standout. Mate. Now, if you wanted any dirty, naughty stuff, you're not getting it.
Zip lip.
Zip
they
lip.
say,
Yeah.
There's an old saying. They say, "Loose lips sink ships."
Absolutely. the walls have ears.
Yeah.
Now the other thing, so one other thing is I got to meet my wife.
Yes.
And I met my wife down here in Fort Lauderdale. Funny enough, she was from West Virginia.
Okay.
And
what was she doing in Fort Lauderdale?
She was living down here and working. She was a lady she worked behind a bar, and we actually rehearsed an album down here in after we recorded Power Slave. We came down. Actually, no, it was Peace of Mind, and we started rehearsals in Fort Lauderdale, and we used to go to the Button South every night after rehearsals. And we had our own little area at the bar. Well, I was on a blind date, and she was on a blind date, and she didn't know it. So a friend who was our tour manager was dating her best mate, and her best mate said, "Oh, got just a girl that fall in love with you when she sees you," and all this malarkey, and it came true. So
Wow.
I met my wife. So
That's excellent. That's excellent.
4 good things, boys and girls.
So, obviously, we're in this beautiful, rib establishment. One of the best ribs I've ever tasted.
Thank you.
I've tasted them all over. I've been in 50 countries, so
Yeah.
I've had a few passports in my lifetime. But 3 things, because a lot of entrepreneurs watch this show.
Sure.
3 things that you would say to be a successful entrepreneur. What are those 3 things?
Well, I think you have to have a passion for wanting to do whatever it is you're going to do. In the restaurant industry, you've got to, first of all, have the dream of how you want to present it. And you've got to have a great chef and great quality of produce. And don't cut in corners. So in order, the dream, the passion in your heart to take that adventure. So the food itself has to be the top form. No cutting corners. If you want to make a lot of money, that dream is not what you want to do it for, because it takes a lot of time and effort to do it.
You know who told me that?
Is that
A guy that started a little small company called Apple.
Apple?
Steve Wozniak told me that.
Wozniak.
I had a conversation
Did
with
you?
him.
Did he say you had to
And
have
he-
the passion?
and he said-
was that one of his things?
He said if you're gonna do something, like if you're gonna start a company or start a
Right.
app or start a whatever, he said if you go in it to just about the money, he said it's like you're trying to go from A to like X.
Yeah.
You miss so many steps in between.
Absolutely, yeah.
He said you have to go in it from the perspective of the end user, and you have to look at it from the perspective of the customer.
Right.
And you have to have a desire
The desire,
to
yeah.
just
Yep.
please them.
Yes.
And then from
The-
everything will work itself out. for
This
you.
is
That's what Steve told me.
I totally 100% agree. I mean, obviously the man's a great success, and he had that drive and direction to do that, and it's worked for him. The way I when we had the dream, so a lot of it was about how you want to be treated yourself. So you walk through a door, and you expect, sometimes you've been around 50 countries. I have been around the world, God knows how many times.
How many times have you been on it?
At least 16 times, 15, 16 times.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Wow.
easy.
Wow.
My frequent flyer miles, non-existent really.
And
No,
I like that Iron Maiden plane. When am I
Neon,
gonna-
mate. I didn't get any frequent flyer miles on that one.
I
said
saw
to
that
Bruce, I
jet.
said, "Come on, mate."
I saw that. I
Yeah.
saw that.
So the thing is that, and so the third thing is, okay, we've covered the passion and the drive for what you want to do.
Yes.
The second thing is the food and the produce and how it's presented, and the third thing is who presents it to you. So you have to have a great wait staff, and getting the balance of those 3 things. Well, the first one is a given, because you know that's what you wanted to do. As I said, it wasn't something I jumped into. It took me a while, 4 years of basically planning it and saying, well, how are we going to present this restaurant? I want to first of all make sure that the people that greet you when you come in and serve you are courteous and polite, and are basically always understand they treat the staff the way they would expect to be treated
When I
in a
came
nice
in,
fine dining establishment.
when I came in, they always greet. I've come here many times. They always greet me like I'm family.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Call me by name. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming back.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, you know.
And that makes me feel so special.
Well, you feel at home. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, and
It's like you're just going to like a relative or a distant
Yeah.
cousin's place. Yeah.
And I, you know, and then, you know, with the food situation, you know, there's a lot of, you know, if things aren't right when I go away and I come back in and I, you know, there's certain little things that I need to address with the staff, you know, my partner.
Yeah.
And I'm hands-on in that respect.
I love that.
Mitch, my partner, he's really, his wife does our accounts for us.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a lot of trust that you have to have with the staff that you employ.
Yeah.
And if you treat them well, with respect and courteous to them, they'll give you that back tenfold.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's nice to keep, it's like that, our band, you know, we had lots of changes to get where we're at now.
Yeah.
And the people that are behind us, all of our road crew, they're called the killer crew.
Yeah.
You know, we've had guys that have been working, that are still working in this band, that have been there longer than I have.
Wow.
One guy especially looks after Steve.
Wow.
He went on a little sabbatical for a while, but so did Bruce, so did Adrian.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm the second longest surviving member. So he had Steve, who formed the band in '75.
I think that's so incredible that you guys
It
have lasted
is
so long.
absolutely.
You know, another thing that I find fascinating is every year you do something very special in this community.
Yes,
Tell us
sir.
about December
Oh,
14th.
yes. So our anniversary is in December. So that was the primary reason we started the parties, and we'd have a party in the car park.
A huge party.
Yeah, and
it's like thousands of people show up.
Well, it's
for it.
quite incredible. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a small car park, but we put a tent up. We put a little stage in. We get SIR in Miami to send us up a little PA system, some lights, and we have a fantastic party. And it's all live music all day. And the nice thing is we get permits from the county, from Coral Springs, to be able to serve food out there. And we've got a alcohol firearm. What is it called? ATF. ATF. They let you sell beer and people can consume it out in the car park.
Yes, yes.
So we're all legally covered to be able to do it, because we don't serve spirits here. It's just beer and wine. So then what we do is we get the Coral Springs School of Rock kids come up, and they kick the show up. So they get a 45-minute slot, and you can get like 6 different bands. They all get up and swap instruments, and there's kids from 9 years old to 18. Then you've got the teachers and the educating guys get up. So it gives them a chance to get up on a stage with Nico's gear, and they love that. We love it.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure the kids love that.
Yeah, and so what we do usually, we have Toys for Tots available. We ask people to bring an unwrapped gift.
Yeah.
As well as the monies from the event. We donate over 50% of the money that we make goes to a local charity, and in the last few years it's been SOS Children's Charity.
Oh, wow.
This year though, somebody was put forward to do an animal charity.
Okay.
So we thought, okay, and but then there's the grand order of all of that, so I send them some money each year from it, because we do, like, I sign etchings. There's a dear friend of ours called Mickey, who makes these incredible drawings, and I buy them for a $5 off of him, and I sell them for $20. So that $15 I split up. Anyway, so we're doing.
Why is giving back so important to you?
Well, again, like we were saying earlier about paying it forwards, it's nothing out of my. All it is my time, and to sign autographs with someone and shake a hand or two.
And they go crazy. I've been here several years with.
And you have a picture taken with someone, and sometimes I go, well, you want another photo? Put a $5 in the pot.
Yeah.
Because
it's going to go to charity.
Absolutely. I don't like doing that, but like some of these sportsmen charge a tenner for a picture or whatnot. But when you pay it forward in that respect, it's easy because it's giving back basically.
Yeah.
And it's for a good cause. We're having a great time.
Yes.
So this year it's our 10th anniversary on December the 14th.
Are you going to do something like bigger and better?
This year is different. We lost a very dear friend of ours, Mars Peter Cowling, who was the bass player for Pat Travers' band.
Okay.
I had 2 years of work with him in 76 and 77, 1976 and 77. He was a big part of my life in that in my nurturing going forward in my musical career. And I've always been blessed to play with incredibly great bass players.
Wow.
And he's definitely in the top 3.
Wow.
So he would be then I didn't see him for many years, and Pat, and then he became a part of our party routine over the last 5 or 6 years, and he'd come up and jam with us. And he kind of semi-retired. He didn't really want to start playing again.
Okay.
And I managed to get him out of his little, come on mate, get your bass out, let's have a rehearsal. And we lost him last year.
Wow. How did he pass?
He had a heart aneurysm, I think it was. He went back to England and had like a pacemaker or something put in his heart, and then it just didn't work for him. He came back, and about 4 months after he got back from England, he had his heart gave up basically.
Sorry to hear
and
that.
he hadn't been married long either to Victoria.
Wow.
So what we were going to do last year was do a memorial. And Pat Travers was going to come down, Tommy Aldrich was going to come, but I busted my wrist last year. I fell off a ladder. Boys and girls, my old dad said to me when I was growing up, 2 things in life you've got to respect: the knife and step ladders. And I went, what do you mean, Dad? He said, well, you'll never mess around with a knife. Always hand a knife to somebody from the blade. So you put it in their hand and take the sharp part away from your hand. Respect the knife, because that'll get you. Which is true, if you know what I mean. You get waylaid when you're cutting up a bit of meat or something, or a bit of bread. Whoa, go. And the step ladder. Always have someone hold the step ladder for you, son. Always respect it, he said to me. Well, I did for 60 odd years, till last year.
Wow.
And I fell off one, 12-foot aisles, busted my wrist, got a plate in it. So we couldn't do the party last year.
Wow.
So we had to cancel it. So there's a special memorial for Mars this year as well.
That is so incredible. Sorry for your loss, by the way.
Yeah, it was a bit of a blow, mate, because we were very tight. So Pat said he's coming down with his band. We're gonna so we're gonna do I've got to learn like maybe 3 or 4 songs. Actually, I'm going to do 4. I'm going to do 2 off of Making Magic. So I did 2 albums with Pat, 2 off of Making Magic and Putting It Straight. 2 albums I did. So we're going to do, the idea is to tell stories about Mars and have a little memorial for him.
Yeah, that's very.
And,
man, you're such a great friend, man.
Thanks, mate.
You're such a great friend.
So
I want to ask you this. So I want you to. I like to. What Stephen Covey always says. He says you always begin with. Start with the end in mind. Start with the end in mind. I like to do that. So you come up with an outcome that you want, and then what you do is you reverse engineer from that. So now, and I've done this, and I'm a little crazy. So what I did was I actually like planned my like funeral, and like sat in the casket and like had like my mother and all my closest family and everyone that meant something, and I had them there, and I just kind of like imagined what they would say about me at my funeral when I was
that's dangerous.
when I was deceased.
That's dangerous.
And then here's the kicker. And then I asked myself, am I living every day so that these folks, these people that are the most important people in my life, they'd be able to say about these things. So now we're talking about you. So imagine, this is morbid, I know. It's morbid, but you're in a metal band.
What is he like?
Okay, so imagine your funeral. Everyone that loves you, everyone that means the world
about
to you.
2 people there.
No. And they're there.
Right.
What do you want them to say about you? What do you want them to say about you?
Oh, I don't know. I just hope they'd say that, I was a fair man. I had my good days, I had my bad days. But even on a bad day, I was good. It's hard to say what I'd like them to say. I mean, I'm thinking what they would say from the, I would just hope that they would be genuine. When you do a eulogy for someone, you always think of the best things to say about them. Yeah. I expect them to say the bad stuff too. How, things that I have done to my, in my relationship with my wife, things that I maybe have said to my son that hurt them. Yeah. But then to say the outcome that, as you're saying about little bumps in the road that make sometimes, just be truthful and honest. And what I want is a celebration.
Okay.
I don't want people. I don't want people. God gave us tear ducts for a reason. God gave us an emotion for a reason. I expect people to maybe not to have dry eyes. If they have dry eyes, then there might be some kind of problem there. Like, oh, well, it's good, he's gone now.
Yeah.
No, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, emotion is very important, and I think when somebody's in bereavement and grief, that's a way of showing it and cleansing themselves and go, right.
Yeah.
But I want them to say it so, like, when I'm put down into the ground, because I don't want to be cremated.
Okay.
Although my mum and dad were, so I'm kind of toying with it. I'm not 100% sure. My primary idea was to make a coffin out of my drum shells.
Oh.
Okay, because I've got lots of drum kits.
Wow.
But I'm going to leave some of those to my sons. I'm going to donate a bunch to be sold, for charity when I'm gone. And so the idea would be to actually construct a coffin with all the drum shells. It's going to be like really
that is
nouveau,
super creative. Yeah.
So I wanted to do that, and because I thought, I don't want to leave my drums to anybody else. They're going to go with me,
How
so it'll be my first drum kit that I got.
How do you want your fans to remember you?
My fans to remember me. Well, I think just the way they do. They remember me now. If there's such a thing. The way they look at me is they respect me as the drummer of Iron Maiden. And believe me, there's so many great players out there that actually are technically better than me, but I am the one that sits on the drum throne behind those guys and drive them.
Wow.
And I would hope that they remember me with compassion and true, not, that's one of his best tracks, but the respect that they have and they show me now to carry on, because a lot of the fans, they do respect what I do. There's a lot of mumbling and grumbling. People say, oh, he's not that great, his timing sucks and all this business. Well, yes, maybe it does, but it works with Maiden. Yeah. And to be remembered for my contribution and my legacy that I'll leave behind are these incredible albums and these amazing memories in video format. A lot, because we film pretty much every one of our tours we do. Yeah. There's a lot that hasn't been released.
Wow.
But I used to be the comedian in the band, but now we got Yannick. He is the funniest mother out there. He really is. So yeah, I think just as a Christian man, that that can turn around and say, yeah, I'm sorry. In the heyday, when I was, doing all kinds of drugs and stuff, and now I want to make one thing clear. In the 80s and early 90s, there was a lot of stuff going on, but never before a show, only after. Nobody drank on stage, and even to this day, nobody has a drink on stage, maybe at the back before the encores, one of the guys will have a sip of beer, but, it's very important that if you do fall into that realm of whatever, substance you may be, taking, drinking or whatever, and you're performing, it doesn't enhance your performance. It's a lie. You think you play better, but you don't, believe me.
All these young rappers now, they're drinking this prescription cough syrup. They call it lean.
Oh my!
And it's liquid heroin.
It's got morphine in it.
Yeah.
There used to be an over-the-counter bottle of medicine like that in the 70s called Fenzadil.
Okay.
And they outlawed it because it contained morphine. So that's the same kind of thing. Yeah. And I used to do that. Me and my mate, we'd smoke a joint up to the chemist, go and buy 2 bottles, straight off a tab of acid, and go down the pub on a Saturday afternoon after school.
Wow.
Not in the 70s. It was
and I think a lot of
this just doesn't work. Mm-hmm. Now you think you when you're young, you like got a coat of armor on, but it's not the armor of God. No way.
Yeah.
But but the thing is, do not get into the thinking that your performance is better when you're high, because it's not. It never works that way. A lot of people used to experiment musically in the 60s and 70s, but they didn't do it live. Very rarely. Maybe Frank Zappa's band a couple of times. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
And there were experimental bands out there, but you've got to watch that. But okay, so my point was then I'd had lots of skeletons in closets. I was not very happy with people, and as I've got older, and as one of those great things that I think I can attribute that to the fact that I've made, I've become famous, if you like. I'm a known rock drummer in an incredible band, is that I've learned to be humbled. And
how did you get that? How did you learn that?
I think stopping drugs, stopping drinking, but prior to stopping drinking, I found the Lord.
Wow. And
But
how did that happen
I've
for you?
cleaned. Oh, that was incredible. Well, my wife came to Jesus before me. She and I, back in the early '90s, I'd come home off a tour and she'd be reading the Bible every night. And she, you're reading that Bible again, are you? Now, my mother and father were Christian people, and I went to Sunday school when I was a kid, and so I was aware of Jesus and being a Christian child growing up. But I kind of, I just moved away from it.
Yeah.
And a long way from it.
Wow.
And then I found my faith, and through that, I think, was where I realized I've got to make peace with the people that I had aggressions with, or that I wasn't happy with, who had slighted me, who had crossed me. Unfortunately, a few of them passed away before I could actually say, well, I forgive you for what you did.
Wow.
But I don't have, at the moment in my life, I can go up to see the governor and have a clean conscience. I haven't got any, that I know of personally, any enemies that I feel that I need to make peace with.
That says a lot. Are you familiar with the guy they call Kanye West?
Yes. Yeah. He makes his own beats. I've heard.
Yeah.
But I do it better.
It came out recently that he found the Lord, and he actually came out with believe it or not, a Christian album. What's your take on Mr. Kanye West?
Absolutely fantastic. I mean, the thing is, what happens is when there's a euphoria that takes over, that you realize what you've been missing is the word of Jesus and the Son of God. And then I think when you get, I played in the church band for like a couple of years. When I was home on a Sunday, I'd go down and God called me to do that. And you just want to express this, you want to tell the story.
Yeah.
You've got to do your testimonial.
Yeah.
And to me, if I one person, this is the other amazing thing, I think this is the one over and above everything, is if one person comes to know God because I'm a Christian, maybe I'm not a very good Christian. None of us are, the old saying, the only man that was ever sinless or sinless, was Jesus and God himself. Right?
Yes.
The only thing when we become a Christian is we sin less. We don't become sinless. Does that matter? Am I explaining that right? He took all our pain. And the thing is, this is the other thing. Every time you do something wrong when you're a Christian, you think, Jesus was on that cross thinking about you and me. For those 9 hours that he was up there, he took everyone's sins, past, present, and future. So every time you do something wrong, that's another knife in him, or another pain expression.
I never thought of it that way. I never thought of it that way.
So
Wow.
I think when Kanye discovered his faith in Jesus, he's going to tell the world, which is brilliant, And there's a party, so there's a party down here, and then God's going to look and go, right, okay, let's see how you get on in the next couple of years. But that's phenomenal.
I was privileged to know the late Zig Ziglar. I don't know if you ever.
Zig Ziglar.
He's like a sales trainer, motivational speaker.
That's right. Yes.
He has all the quotes and stuff. So I would be spending time with Mr. Ziglar, and we would talk, and he would tell me, he said, Gibson, if you ever meet anyone and they tell you they're sinless, he said, you have to ask yourself one question. If they'll lie about that, what else they'll lie about?
Cracker.
He would always say that
right
to me.
on.
He said, if they'll lie about that, he said, tell me what else they'll lie about.
Yeah, that is beautiful. But Kanye, great, but he's still, the only thing is,
right, I've got to be honest, he gets a drum machine, he sits in the studio and he goes, oh, la, 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 la. Oh, I'll have some of that. Yeah, all right, mate, just.
I'm gonna see if I can get you guys together. That'd
Hey,
be great.
yeah,
That'd
man,
be great.
listen, I'll
That'd
get
be
in there and
great.
do some backbeats for him.
Well, Nicko,
you're
I'm getting
looking at
kind of
those-
hungry. Yes.
Yeah, mate,
Nicko,
bless your heart, man.
you're a wonderful human being.
Thank you. You too, mate.
And one of my favorite quotes, Mark Twain, he said, "The greatest gift a man can give is a portion of himself."
There you go.
Thanks for giving a portion of yourself
Absolutely,
today.
my pleasure,
We love
man.
you, Nicko.
Love you too, mate.
Thank you.
You're my pleasure. All right.
Okay, I just want to present one of my books to you. It's called Supersize Your Life.
Thank you
And
very
I'm just
much.
gonna autograph it here for you.
Lovely.
And this book is all about thinking big, acting bold, and living your magnificent obsession.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what you did. You probably could have wrote the book. So I'm just
Yeah.
gonna assign it to you. Who do you want me to address it to?
To Nicko.
Okay.
Please.
And your wife as well? No?
Yeah, you put
Okay.
it to Rebecca as well. That'd be lovely. She'll be very thrilled about that. Then she'll say, "Where's my own? You've got your. Why haven't I got my own?" In fact, I am actually writing a book.
Oh, wow.
I've
That's
been writing it for the
incredible.
last 3 years. I've only
Oh,
got
my
to the 12th
goodness,
chapter,
wow.
and I'm only 15. So apparently, the publishers got in touch and they were moaning about the time. And I told my manager the other week, I said, "Look, I've got so much written down already, and I'm only at my 15th birthday." I said, "It's going to take another like 40 chapters to get to the beginning of Maiden." I said, "Maybe I should just say, and then I joined Iron Maiden, the end. So I'll get a second book deal out of it."
Two for the price of one.
Yeah.
So Nicko,
Thank you so much.
Brother Nicko, right here. Supersize Your Life.
Thank you very much,
All right.
mate. God bless you.
Blessings
Cheers,
to you,
man.
brother.